that as we're doing our internal releasing and sinking down into that peace, while we're letting go of those negative judgments, condemnations, as we're doing that, we have no idea of how this is influencing and helping other people all across the world. With all the craziness and stresses and injustices, we're helping by sitting in our room, doing peaceful stuff, and we just aren't aware of it. So to remind ourselves, it's not just a tiny little private thing we're doing, because we're so intrinsically connected. Our minds and our thought structures are so interconnected. We are all co-creating this whole planet. Everything that happens in the collective, like all the big events globally, we're all participating in that generation through our subconscious mind, which means we really got to clean up all those unconscious thoughts, mainly the low-level judgments, unworthiness, I'm angry and pissed off and I'm going to hang on to that. As we release that stuff from our unconscious banks, then it's like more positive stories come out in the news. That's amazing. That's incredibly powerful. It's like we don't need to run around with our physical might out there trying to change the world. We change it through our internal mind restructuring. When we reconfigure all of our real convictions to the more real world of light, the more real reality that we're meditating into right now, this has just amazing ripple effects in what is going to happen on the planet tomorrow in the news feed and so on. So it's so powerful. It's just such a, right? I mean, if we knew the depth of how this is influencing world events, wouldn't more people be interested? Like, we should all be doing this, more and more of us.
Is that like, the real flower of life?
Yeah.
This, yeah? Now, since we know what it is.
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, it's all part of that. Mm-hmm. Which is energetics.
Yeah.
So what she's referring to is energy moves in a torus field, in a toroidal donut type shape. Physics studies it, it's the toroidal field. And when you're on this machine too, that really amplifies that torus that flows basically through us. It goes through the heart point. The heart is the center. So all the energy always comes through and it replenishes and it refreshes through the heart, which is where we are connected to the source and to each other. So it's like we're cleansing and then our energy goes out, it comes back. It replenishes through that source energy. It goes out. So that's the toroidal field. That's everything has that pattern of energy flow. From every single individual cell has that flow. An apple has that flow. A body has that flow. A planet Earth has that massive flow, the toroidal field. So it's the same one mechanics of energy flow in the physical realm here. That is basically a fractal. The small and the medium and the big, all of them are the same one toroidal field. There's only one torus in the whole universe. And it's just kind of fractalized out in all seemingly different separate expressions. But it's an illusion. It's a holographic illusion. This is a holographic universe. It's very trippy because our senses tell us there's very distinct separate objects with sharp, solid edges, and that's the big illusion. We're going to read about this. And we have to overcome that and not get deceived by our senses again. There's two worlds, there's two realities. There's the one that appears to us through our senses, and touch and smell. But that's not the original one. It's not the real one. The real one is, it's kind of like this. Like, imagine we're seeing right now, okay, we're seeing a table. We're seeing a table. We can all collectively, we are agreeing there's the table, and that's why it is continuing to appear as a solid separate object. But the new kind of perception we're training into this ascension, into this new earth reality, the new perception is that there's actually a subtle energy that is flowing through the table and the couch and the floor and all bodies and all cups and all air and through everything. Meaning there's a unified perception. There's a unified perception that sees energy and light everywhere. Energy and light. And so that you can't see that with your physical eyes, that's your internal spiritual vision. So when it says, I loosed the world from all I thought it was, I'm thinking I'm seeing separate tables and separate bodies, separate people. But that's an illusion. There's a deeper reality connecting everything, and that's the unity consciousness. Unity consciousness is the goal. It's what we're aiming for. So it's a nice theory. It sounds good, and like we might say, yeah, I do that. I want to do that. And so the catch comes, the whole catch comes, well, the separate little personality of us doesn't actually want that to be true, because we are still saying, okay, well, I'll accept that for, I like you, you're okay, you treat me well, so I'm going to see you as part of that one unified field. But come on, not everybody. Like, after the shit that you've done to me, no, you're on the outside. You're not part of the unified field. That's the whole crux, right? And that's where the Course's central teaching is this deep sense of forgiveness. You have to get over that separate people who don't deserve this unconditional love flow. You have to lift it. Lift that judgment, lift the condemnation, so that energy can flow. We can see, perceive the one unified field. So that we actually see a spark of divine light in the people that we have been previously holding away, saying, you don't deserve it. Yeah, forgiveness. So forgiveness. It's not just like a surface forgiveness. It's like we're lifting the veil. Like a heavy blanket is over everything right now, keeping in this separation perception. It's like we got to lift that. It's like, oh my God, I had no idea. So that real reality, the underlying reality, there's two words that describes it. We're going to read it. It has a quality of timelessness. Timelessness. Okay. When we see a table, does timelessness occur to you? Not really, not in this world. And the second quality is the unconditional love from the source, from the creator, from God. So when we're really in our true perception, we're sensing just like a lovingness everywhere. Everywhere. It is everywhere. In every person. Including in the table. And I'm using the table as an example because one of the early lessons, 15 or 14, it says a whole example about that. If you truly saw the table right now in this moment, it would reveal to you something so beautiful and so pristine and so immaculate that you would have a full glimpse of your awakening, of the infinite right now. So as we're gazing at this table, it's like our senses again are once again stuck on the surface solidity. And that's a trick. It's a trick. So we can practice on inanimate objects, and then it gets harder when you practice on the ones you still don't like or hold grudges against because they traumatized you when you were younger and they didn't give you the love that you wanted. We have to come over that barrier. That's the barrier. It's only the barriers we're focusing on that are in the way of our awareness of love's presence. So, yeah, when you really start to get that, it's like there's nothing to seek and chase, and it doesn't take a long time. It's like the love / energy / light. It's always here. It's always here. And that was my biggest realization when I restarted the course 5-6 years ago. I was like, wow, that's a shortcut. What a shortcut. It's like, what's all this hunting and searching about? It's like, just relax, surrender, do some heart-focused breathing. It's like, oh, okay. So I loosened the solid world of perception. I thought it was real and separate, and it's illusion. It's actually one and unified. There's no distinction between as the Course calls it, the Father source and the Son. It's just the source with the creation. They're not two separate things. Source didn't like, all right, I'm going to create all of y'all, and you're separate, all y'all's everywhere. It's not like that. It's the principle of that ideas cannot and do not leave their source. Ideas don't leave their source, meaning we are still in the mind of God. We've never left the mind of God, which is pure spirit. As pure spirit, we've never left pure spirit. Ideas cannot leave their source. So that means, wow, what a relief. We're still okay. We're still good. We're still in that love. We didn't corrupt ourselves. We didn't ruin ourselves. We cannot be distinctly separate from the Father, Mother, Source, Allah, Buddha, whatever word. Each culture uses a different word. Yeah, I loose the world from all I thought it was. I loosen the world of what I'm thinking it really is. It's not. It's not. It's something deeper. Okay, that's a pretty good preamble. So just as we're going into this, there's no solid, distinct, separate, independent world. There's definitely an appearance. We're looking at a table. We've collectively agreed by the deep power of our thought, deep power of our mind. Our mind is manifesting and creating the appearance of a table because we're agreeing on it collectively. If none of us believed and we pulled our value and attention and reality away from this table, it would disappear. But not just the table, everything, the world would disappear. The physicality of the appearances would just vaporize, and what would be revealed is pure, blinding, divine light. One of the teachers of A Course in Miracles, he had this experience early on where, he was on a canoe he was eye-gazing with somebody on a canoe, and decades ago, and then, he was already an advanced soul, you can tell, but what happened, he said, the person disappeared, the background, the trees and everything kind of disappeared, and the whole world literally seemed to just vanish, and he was just in the indescribable state of the infinite. It's not something we can discuss or talk about. There's no concepts in that realm. There's no concepts. It's so vast, we can't talk about it. So for now, we're just working with what we can understand, which is just these little step by step. So, okay, there is no world. That's kind of where that's going at. Yeah. There's another guy that had a similar experience. Okay, I'll say it. His name's Dave. He's in Australia, and he was also an early, semi-newbie to the Course world, but he was already searching, seeking. He was a seeker. And so he attended a group where they were doing some kind of a Course event, and there was this phrase that stuck out at him from Jesus, from the Bible, but it came into his awareness, and then it happened. And he said it was like a domino where the walls in the room disappeared. Then the background disappeared. Everything disappeared until he was gone. Now, in his case, about 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, he opened his eyes and he's lying on the ground and everybody's around him. And so he had a full ego collapse. His whole ego structure of his understanding of the world, I loosed the world from my thought, all it was, dissolved, collapsed. He had the full experience of the divine light, of pure God, and people knew what it was. They were supporting him. They were gentle, and they were like, so since then, he was completely transformed. He's never, you can't go back to normal life as you knew it. It's like, you know better. It's like, wow, this world, I thought it was so real. It is in our experience for the senses, but there is no world. So that's what we're reading. That's like deep. All right. Yeah. if that's not tapping into a deep, deep, profound recognition, it's there. Deep in us, for all of us, that is there. And so it's taking us a bit of time to loosen our attachments, loosen our judgments, grievances, our complaint department in our mind that we've been building up for decades. We have a massive complaint department. I don't like this. This should be improved. I want to change that. That's not good enough. I have other ideas. It's like all of those grievances, they have to go. Every last judgment and opinion has to go if we want to experience our home, like our original source home. Crazy. How's it feel?
I had an experience like that where the walls disappeared. I
Yeah?
had a heart opening treatment, and I sat up on the massage table, and I couldn't understand how I was able to be sitting on the massage table because it was immaterial. But I could see through the walls, I could see through the floor. I was like, how is this even possible that I'm in space? And the practitioner came into the room and sat down, and I could see right through her.
Wow.
It was like everything was just like cells, like yeah.
It was what?
Like cells, like
Cells.
energy moving, but there was not like nothing was yeah. I'm like, how is it like sitting on this thing?
Right.
It was so bizarre.
When was that?
20 years ago.
Have you ever found it hard to completely come back to the reality? Like, were you affected and changed after that?
I wasn't.
Pardon?
I wasn't.
No.
I mean, I already knew. I've already seen angels. I've already I was brought up. It's like this is all just molecules moving. So it's like that was a confirmation that it was true.
Right.
Yeah. It's cool.
You brought up a great point. How does it take to actually make those type of experiences more real, like impact us? Like I had an experience similar, like what you're saying with the walls, like it was a goddess gathering or whatever, and we were eye gazing, and I had a direct experience of like what is another and like fullness of reality and stuff. But it's like so what? Like it's like, or I've had moments of like having direct experience. Who am I doing? Tell me who you are, dyad and stuff. But like, how do we, like when we have these profound moments, how is it? I don't like. I guess was it David Data or someone was talking about the difference between the glow of like we have these enlightenment experiences to the artfulness of the function, like the functionality of having the experience, the glow of it, and the artfulness of like integrating into our life. So it's not just a one-off experience.
Yeah.
That's like. So what does it take to have those experiences? So it seems like some of us have had those experiences.
Yeah.
But how do we live that knowing? Like what's the trick to that? I guess this course is like helping teach
Oh, it's
that.
completely about that, step by step, yeah. But I mean, the first thing is just sit with it, just be with it, kind of like I encourage during our quiet meditations, like stay there, just as long as you can, just be with it, because the intellectual, very smart, rational mind wants to quickly come in and start making sense, making up explanations. Oh, this is what it means, that's what it means, and so you start to activate the intellect. Intellect is the barrier. So it's like, not so fast. Now, since we do come into the world, of course you can't just not use the intellect, so we continue back to, we return to paths of learning. But as much as possible, like take time, like since you had an actual experience, it would be very helpful to regularly, like every day, just remind yourself. Just stop whatever you're doing, remind yourself. Go back to that experience. So shut the intellect, it's not analysis, right? So you're nourishing that original experience. And so as the intellect always wants to kick back in very busily, it's a matter of watching the mind, like watching those thoughts. And in particular, back to the people you're triggered by, those thoughts you want to look at and re-examine. It's like, do I really want to hold on to that judgment? Because if I do, I'm going to keep myself away from that amazing experience you had.